the flip side of that is they're not worthy of the loyalty. So yes, it's unconditional and going to be there, and I'm sure you get that in the military. I never served in the military, but how do you factor in being loyal to people that are worthy of being loyal to?
Takes a lot of discipline, because unfortunately there's a lot of positions that I'm in, as the president of this company, where I can't filter that as much as I'd like to. So I will tell you that definition of loyalty, just because it's mine, it definitely isn't correct, right?
Right.
And it's also, and my best friends, my top managers, my family members will all tell you that I'm loyal to a fault, right? And I agree with them. I think I take it too far sometimes. I think I care too much. I give way too many chances when maybe chances should have been cut off. But for the most part, I could tell you that I've got an overwhelmingly positive result out of it. So if I had to say it within my circle of friends, my network, my employees, I would tell you that it's 15 or 20% that probably don't deserve the level of loyalty that they get from me. The rest of them, I think, do, or I'm helping them get on the path to where they do.
Because you mentioned in your management style is you're taking care of your people, and then they will take care of you back. And so that's another way of
it's the hope. Loyalty, that's the hope, at least. But yeah, for sure, I definitely part of. You asked what makes me not loyal. So that's something. So when somebody clearly shows no desire to treat me the same way or treat the company the same way, that's when I start to lose interest and decide that no, you don't get this treatment from me any longer. So
in business, how do you strive to be loyal? And it seems to me as an outsider, I know your business, I know a lot of your employees, I've been in your shop numerous times over the years. So, I mean, I'm an outsider, but I think I have a reasonably good pulse of your organization. It seems to me as a manager that you've built some really loyal relationships, and your inner core here are truly fans of Dave Famiglietti. So walk me through that. How do you think, can you give some examples of how you strive to be loyal in business? Let's say with your employees now. We could cover vendors and other business relationships in a moment if we have time. But how do you strive to be loyal in business?
Yeah, that's what I do. I kind of define it in those categories: vendors, customers, and employees. So for employees, I've had a lot of people that probably weren't hacking it and maybe wouldn't have made it in another job if they worked at one of the big box stores in town, where I give those second and third and fourth and fifth chances if I see even a glimpse of potential left where, hey, we can fix this guy or girl. Okay. We can turn them around. We can teach them something. We can get them on the right track. I think I offer those chances. That's part of my loyalty to them, is I don't just throw them on the street. Something goes bad. I can't remember. It's very, very seldom if we've ever fired anybody, it's been for theft. I think it's been 2 cases where we've actually fired somebody, and it was because of theft. I feel like I'd spend more time training somebody or teaching.
So
and whatever.
you build loyalty by giving people a lot of slack.
Tons of opportunity.
So what's in it for you? And I don't mean to be overly crass about that, but a hardcore business decision could be, look, you're not cutting it. I'm going to bounce you out. I'm going to bring somebody else in, and you could have immediate results in your business, but you choose not to and give people multiple chances. Now, part of that, I imagine, is because you're a good man, you have integrity. But from a business standpoint, what's in it for you to do that?
I think the continuity helps me a lot. I think the people just physically being here and knowing what's going on is a big step in it. So every time I have to hire somebody new, I can't even really tell if they're going to work out or not, or they're going to be a very good employee or not, until 3 or 4 months, until they really know the ropes and get the hang of things. So the continuity part is very important to me, because we don't have a lot of time to train new people. The other part is hoping that, because I've shown certain loyalties to them, that when it does come time to, sorry guys, but I need you to work this Sunday, or sorry, I know this is a real crappy job, but I need you guys to go do this, or can you run and do that, or can you do... I don't get a lot of questions.
They'll step up.
They step up and do it with no hesitation. The more selfish part would be when I first became successful in this business, I had a lot of guilt because of my success. I hid it. I hid the money I was making. I didn't have a lot of possessions that were flashing, whatever. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that if I'm treating these guys good and with respect and giving them all these opportunities and being loyal to them and taking very good care of them as employees, then I shouldn't feel bad that I'm profiting off the enterprise.
So is it much the same with the other categories, the vendors and the customers?
Yeah, different levels, but real quick, like on the vendors, I don't chase price often. So it takes a lot for me to switch. There's a lot of guys in this industry that they'll come all day and try to sell me on, hey, I have this X widget. I know you buy 1 million X widgets a year. How much do you pay for them? Oh, I pay $10. I can get them to you for $9.99. And I'll tell you that a good chunk of guys in this industry will jump for that penny or 2 pennies or $2 or whatever it is, where I much rather have... So I don't think those guys are going to last very long because I don't like their strategy. Their strategy is to go around and just try to be the cheapest, not offer me any type of better service or anything else or customer service.
Right. You live by price, you die by price.
100%. So I feel like for me to have a steady flow of product from different vendors, that I'd rather work with a vendor that I know will be there long term. I might pay a little bit more, but I get it back in the fact that I can pick up the phone and I know I'm going to be taken care of day in, day out, and I know that they're probably not going anywhere anytime soon, so I'll have a steady product source.
I do. It's funny. Now, my business world is much different than yours in many, many ways, but I do find it amazing how there's, I don't know if it's a lot, but that there's a decent number of business people that they'll beat the heck out of you price-wise. And, they're the customer, you're the provider, could be service, could be a good, but they'll beat you up price-wise, and then as soon as they sign on, they have all kinds of expectations for value-added service and going above and beyond, and that seems just on the face of it unfair. And these successful business people, I think, would figure out is if you want rock bottom price, then you can't expect white glove service.
Pick one of these three, yeah.
Yeah, right?
For sure.
So what is that? Just so everybody is in on our inside joke. There's the 3 things. There's price, quality, and...
Low price, high quality, expeditious service, or whatever, in a timely fashion. You know what I mean? Fast. Yeah, you can get low price, fast, or high quality.
Yeah, you could get 2 out of the 3, but not all 3.
2 out of 3, yeah.
And some people try to negotiate so hard in one, and then afterwards they want both the other things. Mm-hmm. And it can't work that way. Mm-hmm. Because you can't beat somebody down so much that their margins and their profits are so slim, and then ask for something extra and expect them to go in the red. Mm-hmm. You're certainly not going to have a long-term business relationship.
That's actually a good spoken to the customer aspect of that is I tend to take much better care of customers that I have through the good and bad. So our industry is very politically driven. So there's times where everybody will buy my product because it's in very high demand because of political threats. I have other times where it's very, very slow time industry-wide and not many people are buying. Those customers that are pretty continuous and stock through those times, and they're doing what I do with my vendors. They're not jumping around because there's guys all the time nipping at my heels trying to get, they're $5 cheaper. Well, really quick, so I have tons of customers that will bail for that $5 a part. And when they do, they quickly realize what doesn't come with their lower price.
Right.
That they were getting from me, and they come right back to me. Well, the problem is when it is really busy and everybody wants the product and the demand is very high, I prioritize the people that didn't jump ship, the people that stuck with us no matter how slow or good things were. And when we had problems, they were still there, and they gave us a second chance or a third chance. And
so I've known your father for a very, very long time, and I think he, like you, is very good at building loyalty. He's a retired CEO now. How much of your management style and the topic of loyalty do you get from your dad?
I think a ton of it. I watched my dad growing up kind of as a hero and heard him on the phone all the time, and he'd take us around to business meetings all over the place, and I really looked up to him because he was the big boss. Everybody's always constantly calling and doing stuff, but I think, and again, unfortunately, and he's still slow to admit this, but everybody around him will admit it just the way people around me do. Is I think I learned that loyalty to a fault from him. I think the taking care of people part to a fault, right? But like I said, I think most of it comes back in a positive way. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it, and then I know that I can sleep at night knowing that worst possible case, they screwed me, but I took care of those guys. There was no reason to. I didn't have it coming. I wasn't the bad boss that made them work on Christmas and sent them home without a paycheck or whatever.
So clearly, being loyal and sort of taking the high road when it comes to some of the things we're talking about, it pays off, right? Because more often than not, you are going to get, it's going to be reciprocal. And there are going to be some bad apples that take advantage of you, right? We agree.
For sure.
But what's your thoughts on the idea that by behaving this way in the world, that you, and this sounds like cosmic, this is stuff from the book The Secret, but, that good things come to you, so, you get beat out of this, you were loyal and they took advantage of you and maybe they stole from you or they took their business elsewhere, whatever, but then something unexpectedly happens good out of the blue, and at first glance they're not related, but they sort of are. Do you believe in that like I do?
I actually do. So grew up with a lot of old superstitious Italians, and it is. Karma's a big thing, and I think it's a true thing. I think that's why I've worked very hard for what I have and what I've built, but at the same time, I think I have been lucky in a lot of ways in different areas of my life, not just the business, and I think a lot of that does have to come back to, hey, I tried to do things right. I may not be the best person all the time, but I've really tried to take care of people. I've tried to help people when I can. I've tried to live a pretty good life, and when you do that, I do think that there is some type of reward, and it's not a religious thing or anything else. It's just I really do think that comes back around.
So, going back to the mechanics of all this, do you expect your employees to be loyal? But in what way do they show their loyalty to you? And it's kind of the same. You could use examples for the vendors, or let's leave the customers out of it for a moment. How do you expect them to be loyal?
So this kind of goes back to military, and same thing. Right alongside that other chief, there was a Master Sergeant Walker, and he's still a very good friend of mine. I try to visit him when I can when I'm in North Carolina. This guy was amazing because he was a man of very, very few words, which is total opposite of me, right? And anybody I've ever known before I knew him. So he could tell you, this guy could make you, with his eyes, he could beat you up worse than any words from any person or a stick or anything else. You would leave this guy's office crying and he'd never once reprimand you, right? Because he would make you want to make him happy so bad that you would do anything. And if you let him down, you felt worse inside about yourself than he could ever make you feel. And it wasn't, and it sounds kind of negative, but it wasn't at all. What that, I mean, that just taught me so much was that I'd like to be that boss. I'd like to be that boss where, like, my guys won't come to work because they don't want to late because they're scared of letting me down. They're embarrassed. They would be. I want them to be embarrassed. I don't want them to be scared of getting yelled at when they get here late. I want them to be embarrassed that they weren't here on time. I want them to beat themselves up over it, not have me go yell and scream at them. I want them to know that I'm disappointed, right? And I think that hurts worse.
To have a meaning for them.
And I feel like that hurts worse sometimes than actual reprimand. Like, what, I could write you up on a piece of paper and tell you, oh, you were late for work.
But if they don't care, then what difference does it make?
And that's not going to help them care. But figuring, hey, I'm letting down this guy that just yesterday bought us all lunch on Friday because it's free lunch Friday. And that's money I don't have to spend out of my pocket, but they get it, you know. Or I got a bonus for this. Or, hey, he bought us tickets to this fundraising banquet and we get to go to this big party that we normally couldn't afford to go to. Or out for these dinners that we couldn't afford to go to. Or staying in a hotel room because it's our anniversary. Or whatever. Any of these little perks that I do for my employees. I want them to kind of have... And it sounds very selfish. And it's not. It's just some people weren't raised to where they appreciate that.
Right.
I'll be honest, like some people don't even say thank you. But what I try to instill is that I want you to take that and know, like, okay, I went out of my way and did this for you. And all I'm asking